actually have a fairly broad mandate in this area. One is, what does the country want to do with regard to improving the circumstances, and particularly the financial circumstances of women, youth, and the differently abled, people with disabilities. It's very important to us. It's part of our strategy. We also have policies which our board has approved to work with women, to work with youth, to work with people with disabilities. And on top of that, we also have regular consultations with public and private organizations to say, what are you doing? What should we be doing? And how are the circumstances changing, and how are you measuring that? So our key mandate is really to improve the financial health of these three groups in particular. So we've been able to work on policy dialogue, using national strategies for women, for youth, for the disabled, as vehicles for policy dialogue and for encouraging organizations that may not think about this. Like a bank may not think about, okay, are we accessible? Is our branch accessible? Well, if there are stairs here and there's no railing for them or there's no ramp, that means that people who are differently abled can't really access them easily. Or what is the circumstances for someone who is a woman and may or may not be fluent in English to manage someone who is speaking only English to her and providing her with legal documents, which she may not easily be able to read. So these kinds of things have become very important to us in thinking about how do we ensure people have access and understanding to the services that can be provided to them in the financial sector. We also have been thinking a lot about, in the last 2 years, how can we enable people to struggle with their finances for risk, or struggle with their finances for, say, for example, accessing water, or accessing health, or paying school fees, which is a significant challenge for many Zambians. So how do we help these groups to make sure that they can access resources to pay for these services and live a better life? We worked a lot on that question. We also then have been thinking about, how do we change the game? And how we change the game as a facilitator is to locate those within the market who want to make a change, and then encourage them to have ongoing dialogues, discussions, and work, research, to enable them to understand, everyone to understand, why does a circumstance need to change? How can it change? And how will people be better off as a result of that? That's particularly important for women and youth. But it's also important for those persons with disabilities, because those persons are very often not seen. They stay in their house, they stay inside the village. No one ever knows that they're there. And yet they are very important people, just like everyone in Zambia.
When we started working with FSD Zambia, we started discussing specifically this idea of integrating gender and really putting it in the center of our analysis, and also the situation of youth in Zambia. So FSD Zambia was able to work with us to identify different partners related to financial inclusion that we could support, or that we support through FSD Zambia. Together with Financial Sector Deepening Zambia and some of their partners, we will be looking at ways to very actively engage with both youth and their parents in terms of opportunities for financial inclusion.
We did learn a lot from Win1. Win1 was one big innovation where we were trying out a lot of things. So from that, we're actually now building on some. We've actually had to drop some because they couldn't work. And we are hoping that from those lessons that we've learned, we are going to have a very successful Win2. We are actually now hoping that we are going to have, of course, continue on our path of ensuring that we provide as much information on financial literacy as possible, because that is the foundation of our program. Then, of course, once that has happened, we want to see that women and youth, as well as people living with disabilities, are using that information to actually now access financial services. We are also now targeting different market players like insurance companies to be able to be deliberate about their approach to, like designing products that are gender responsive. And to this effect, we have collaborations where we are going to come up with programs like Making Insurance Work for Women. And this is very exciting for us, and we are hoping that we are going to raise a lot of awareness. But overall, we want to see that there are several things that cause women to be excluded. And our approach this time is to actually look at those things: social norms, beliefs, cultural practices. And we want to ensure that even as we are making interventions, we are addressing some of those social norms that create these gaps in the market systems for women.
Zambia Federation of Disability Organizations, ZAFOD, is an umbrella organization of organizations of persons with disabilities, which we call OPDs. Financial sector deepening Zambia to proactively and be forethought in inviting ZAFOD. It's a very important intention that we must commend from the bottom of our hearts as ZAFOD, that this is unique, and we are so grateful that they had an affirmative action to say for Win 2, we are going to ensure that persons with disabilities are included. That's very, very exciting.